We had some good times, didn't we? Remember when we used to scroll all the way to the bottom of the survival tab to make bundling wrap? Or how we could never understand why the scaled furnace was under structures and not light? And who could forget when you accidentally pressed caps lock and gave yourself a jump scare? Man, those were some good times. Anyway, the crafting menu's gone. And to be perfectly honest, the new system is much better. Instead of crafting tabs, there are now filters, which are quite intuitive. You can favorite items to add them to the favorited filter, and you can pin items so you can craft some things without having to open up the menu at all. There's also a search bar, which I can see being really handy when using some mods that add heaps of items. You can scale the size of the menu to your preference, and the game pauses by default when using it, so you don't have to worry about getting chomped when you try to search for a new dark sword. In addition to this, you can now craft with materials in open containers. You don't have to hold everything on your person in order to build something. And seeing as crafting tabs have been removed, some crafting stations have been repurposed to fit this change. The tackle receptacle and terra firma tamper now let you prototype items, instead of forcing you to stand next to them every time you want to build the same thing again and again. And on top of this, there have been a few adjustments to crafting recipes. The boat patch is a little cheaper, but a little shitter as well. Boats are made out of logs instead of boards. Cobblestone no longer requires boards either. And all turf crafting now gives you 4 turfs per craft. This may go down in history as the most environmentally friendly quality of life update, as countless forests have just been saved from being turned into roads because of this change. And turf now stacks up to 20. I feel like I've been asking for that specific change for years, so I am super happy we finally got it. And another thing that makes me happy is that all of Melbatross's blueprints are gone. You don't need those anymore, which gives you even less reason to fight Melbatross. Fuck you, Melbatross. And now we get into the Wolfgang Rework. Wolfgang gets a new dumbbell, the Marbell, made out of, you guessed it, marble, which sits in between the golden dumbbell and the gem bell. All of the other dumbbells are cheaper to craft except the gem bell, which now costs 2 thulecite as well as a purple gem to craft. It seems expensive, but all of the dumbbells are now more effective and have increased durability. The gem bell used a grand total of like 4% durability to take me from 0 to 100 mightiness, so I think the cost is pretty fair. The gem bells also do more damage now, and Mighty Wolfgang can use them for melee hits as well as throwing them. The Mighty Gym is also more effective, and depending on the weights you have loaded, will take you like 5 seconds to go from Wimpy to Mighty, and isn't going to cost you a whole meaty stew anymore. And if you thought that was generous, you can also increase mightiness by chopping, mining, tilling, rowing, basically any kind of manual labor really. Running with dumbbells pauses mightiness drain as well, although it sounds very unsafe. Rowing speed is increased when mighty, and carrying heavy items does not incur a speed penalty at all and looks hilarious. Thank you for this. I will cherish that. Fighting other creatures also increases your mightiness, which is a massive change. Conversely, getting hit will reduce your mightiness. And this is not mitigated by wearing armor either, so Wolfgang will have no trouble staying mighty in a fight unless he gets hit, which I mean is fairly common in fights, I must say. This is going to have pretty significant ramifications for boss fight strats like D-Fly, where tanking with armor is pretty widely adopted among Wolfgang players. In addition to this, Wimpy Wolfgang has regained his slower hunger drain. He's also 25% less effective with tools, but wears them out 25% slower as well. And now, after being the laughingstock of boss fights for almost a decade, the Ancient Guardian fight has finally received an upgrade. In this 2-stage battle, you now bait the Guardian into pillars, causing it to get stunned and drop a bunch of roof chunks from above. While Ancient Guardian is stunned, you can just smack away until it wakes up before doing the same thing again. At half health, the Guardian will change noticeably into a more corrupted form that leaks nightmare fuel. I like this. This is cool. Can we have more of this, please? The leaking fuel forms little nightmare tentacles, forcing you to either trigger them to despawn or weave your way around them as you continue the fight. Ancient Guardian can also jump into a ground pound, which is pretty deadly but leaves it stunned afterwards. Overall, it's not a particularly difficult fight, but it suits its purpose magnificently, and it feels good to be able to do the fight without the cheese. In fact, not only do the pillars no longer block the Guardian in the same way, but gravestones no longer block movement either, so the cheese is pretty much dead, guys. And on top of this, the loot in the large ornate chest is way better than before, often giving multiple gems or multiple pseudoscience items and less of the crappy ice staves that no one really needs. But Guardian isn't the only boss to get a bit of love in this update. Diaclops' attack now focuses on a single direction instead of a circular area, making kiting much easier than before. Hound waves and depth worm waves have also been tweaked, and depending on how late in the game you are, you may start to see some varglets mixed in with the waves of hounds as well. These guys spawn fewer hounds than a full varg, but are more than enough to still be a pain in the ass, and I'm curious to see where the game goes with this. I'm still kinda hoping that there will be a way to pause or just eliminate hounds for good in game, because they just become annoying after a while. And I'm not sure if this is the right direction to take with this issue, but I'll give it a chance and we'll see where it goes. In some other good news, cookie cutter shelves now drop twice as often, which is fantastic for everyone needing to rebuild Pearl's house. Birds no longer drop adverts, which were really annoying and not very useful anyway. Adverts in general now work like blueprints. Roads can be turned off in the world gen settings, meaning you don't have to worry about those ugly paths that you can't remove on top of where you're trying to build your base. Multiple world events can also be enabled at the same time now, so you can have your Winter's Feast and Hallowed Nights at the same time if you want. There are also little tips and tidbits of lore on loading screens, which is a nice touch I think. None of the tips offer anything more than surface level beginner knowledge, and none of the lore bits and pieces give you anything that the average player wouldn't already know. But I don't mind having them there just the same. I will take any kind of lore at this point, let's be honest. And that's all the main stuff at this stage. There are still hotfixes coming out pretty much every day, so keep an eye on the forums for further changes. Klei has a habit of making my update videos look pretty silly within a week, so please be kind to me if stuff does get changed. There are also a bunch of things I left out of the video because they weren't super meaningful changes, but it's still worth checking out, and I've left a link to the forums post below if you're curious. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts on the update, the crafting tab, Wolfgang, Ancient Guardian. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. For every like I get, I will feed my cat Parsnip a fish cookie. So if you don't like the video, he will die. Take care.